Yes, hello children. Welcome back to Eve Popcorn. It is I, Mr. Popcorn, and yeah, we're back to doing the Horror Iceberg. And so, of course, Dorian's with me.
Yes.
Dorian, say hello to the children.
Hello, children.
Yes, okay, children of popcorn. We're wanting to get through this quickly. Yeah, the gateway tier, the gateway horrors.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
As much as we love the bulk of the films in this tier and as
hmm
iconic as they are,
hmm
they're a little bit tame for our taste. There's a reason why we're doing this iceberg. We want
Yeah.
to see some fucked up stuff already.
Yes, exactly. And we all know these films as well. And but you are right,
Mm,
they are iconic, and we're doing a very iconic one.
yes.
It's a
Mm,
one-off. Yeah, this is a one-off in terms of it's not a James Wan or a Craven. It's not going to be a little grouping of films. It's
yeah.
the one and well, I can call it the one and only because it's completely different to the rest of the franchise. It's Friday the
Yeah.
13th, 1980, the OG.
Yeah.
So Dorian, I'll just start off with the usual question of what's your history of this film of Friday the 13th, the
So
original?
yeah, when I first decided, you know what, I'm gonna actually properly get into horror movies. I'd seen, horror
What?
movies here and there
Okay.
and really, really enjoyed them. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually properly get into them. So
hmm
I basically just binged all of the like iconic
Can I
horror
ask what
franchises.
year? Can I ask what year for this?
I probably would have been again, like I got into horror stuff comparatively pretty fucking late. So I would have been probably like 19 or 20
Okay.
years old when I did.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I basically just binged all the iconic ones. So Friday the 13th obviously being one of those. So Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween,
hmm
um, the
hmm
Child's Play, Chucky films that were out at that time, Texas Chainsaw, all those like really, really iconic ones.
hmm
And yeah, so that was when I first watched that. But it's when you think of horror movies and you think of slashers, it's always the hockey mask, right?
Abs
Jason Voorhees,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah. I've got
we're
one
gonna
over
get
there.
into that. Yeah, yeah. We're
Yeah.
gonna some fun stuff. If you haven't, if for some obscure reason you're
Mhm.
listening to this
Please,
podcast and you
please tell
have
the
not
world, tell
watched the
the
Friday the
children.
13th movies, for starters, like I don't understand why. Are you okay? What's wrong with you? But also like yeah, spoilers from the jump, but Jason isn't the killer in this movie. Also, he
Yeah.
doesn't get the hockey mask until like about halfway through the third movie in
hmm
this series. So,
hmm Yeah, yeah, that's the big spoiler basically, isn't it?
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
I mean,
but that's
the
popular
opening for
culture
Scream spoils
knowledge.
it as well. The opening for Scream
Yeah.
spoils it when you got Drew Barrymore,
Yes,
being like, oh,
exactly.
no, oh, Jason,
Yeah.
Jason was a killer in Friday the 13th. I must have seen that movie 100 goddamn times. And Ghostface just
hmm
like, well, if you've seen it that much, you would
hmm
know that it wasn't Jason.
Yeah, 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 totally, totally. And for these, yeah, and for this, the rest of the gateway tier, we can say that yes, they're so
Yeah.
iconic, you should know by now,
Yes.
basically with
Yeah.
these, especially if it's part of popular culture. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not Jason, but we'll leave off till
Mm.
the end who it actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that's the cool part of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's probably my favorite thing about the movie
mm,
because,
almost,
yeah,
almost
because
its
all the
saving
kills,
grace, almost its
yeah,
saving
yeah,
grace.
yeah,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Like, yeah, because the movie, all the kills are from the killer's POV,
Yeah.
and they killer's identity is deliberately obscured until it's time to actually reveal who the killer is.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's really cool. I really
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. The way it's is it
Mm,
restricted
yeah,
narrative, I think it's called is the proper
yeah,
terminology,
mm,
and unrestricted. It does play with that well.
yeah,
Um yeah, let's okay, let's get the information out the way for those who are unfamiliar and you're listening to this again, very strange, but we
yeah.
must cover our bases. Friday the 13th, it's a 1980 American independent slasher film, and it is very independent, very
Yeah.
independent indeed, because it's Sean S. Cunningham, the
Mm.
director. This was a keep the lights on operation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
And
the
they were
name of the
basically like,
movie.
hey, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And they were basically just like, hey,
Have you?
that John Carpenter joint Halloween that he did, like that
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
seemed like a fun time. Yeah, fuck it. We're gonna try to ride off the coattails of that.
Absolutely,
And then
absolutely. And they've got a
Friday the
very
13th happened.
Halloween and Friday the 13th have a very intertwined history, which
Mm,
I'll go into want
mm,
to go into more later on because I've got that written down
yeah.
in my notes here. But it was and even more desperate than that though, than the
Mm.
Halloween, homage, shall we say, kind
Yeah,
of
they
thing.
had like pretty much no budget for Halloween.
That is true. That is true. These guys were had made like the soccer movie before and these kids movies. This is Sean S. Cunningham, and they were
Mm,
desperate to make some money. So yeah, copying Halloween would have been
mm,
maybe a good decision. Maybe a good decision at
yeah.
that point. This is in 1980. Yeah, so it's 44, coming out to
Yeah.
45 years old. Um, what else do we want to say about it? It's written by Victor Miller. The music is great. The score is great.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, Harry Manfredini did
Thank
like
you.
that's one of my things upon like this rewatch. I was just like, "Oh my God, this score is incredible." It's one of the high points of the movie for me. There's like I would say three high points. The score, the reveal of who the killer is, and then also the makeup effects by Tom Savini or the gore effects are really fun
Mhm.
and really cool. But
Yep.
it's Tom Savini, he's the MVP. Always love the shit that he does. So that's a
Oh,
given.
okay. I've got another MVP, but
Mm,
we'll save that till
okay.
later on. We'll
Yeah.
save that till later on. Can't spoil it now. Um, yeah. So thank you for the music there because it was great, and I'll get this out the way now rather than saving it to the end because it is so juicy. It's good popcorn.
Mm,
Is the sound, the classic sound of
mm.
Jason, the iconic sound. Yeah,
Yes.
everyone knows what
Yes.
it is. Um, do you know the specificities of that sound?
Yeah, like it wasn't it supposed to be like kill and mum or something like that?
Ma.
That was just kind of ma,
It's
yeah.
yes,
And
so
then it
so it
just kind
come
of like, yeah, kiki.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Nicely done.
yeah.
And that was done on they were playing Manfredi was playing around with
Mm,
synthesizers and he could play with echo reverb,
mm,
now, which is a very simple thing to do, but back then it
yeah.
was a revelation, just
Mm.
like vitamin C in this movie, vitamin C for some reason. Yeah, but that's what he's actually saying, not cha 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 cha
Yeah,
cha.
yeah.
Yeah, which has become the common
Mm,
go-to. Yeah.
yeah. And then
Uh,
like once the kind of the reveal happens at the end, then that sound makes a lot more thematic sense. Like, oh, okay, like I understand,
totally.
but before that point, it's kind of like, okay, that's just some random sounds.
Hmm.
But like
Hmm.
there's a reason why it's those particular words that are
Absolutely.
being
Yeah.
used for that
Yeah.
echoing sound.
Yeah, and when you do find out, because that execution is
Mm,
great in the way that it's
yeah.
revealed. Um, what else? What else? What else? Okay, it is. Okay, we'll go through the cast as we go through it as the
Yeah.
characters come up. Yeah, I think that'll be more fun. Yeah.
Mm,
Um, anything else you want to say about any kind of like anything trivia, anything you want about 1980 before we go into
Um,
the plot, if you will? Because details do come up
not
as they go, of course.
yeah, yeah, not really. Not anything, right now. I'm sure something will
Okay.
come to mind
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
when
Absolutely.
it
Okay. Let's
when
get
it
into it.
comes up.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Um, okay. A movie opens to a full moon. I mentioned that because moon plays a little bit of a framing device in this movie. And there's talk of it halfway through, if you remember.
Mm,
Um, okay. Okay. Well, no. Before we go into it, actually, I've just remembered general
mm,
thoughts. General thoughts.
mm.
Yeah, well, what do you think of Friday the 13th, the original? How do you feel?
Um, later installments in the series are way better.
Okay, okay. I've
I
noticed
felt that
that.
this was
People
very,
think that, yeah. So a few
yeah.
people, yeah.
Yeah. I felt it was very slow and very meandering. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, here are a bunch of characters, and then they're killed, and then it continues, and then finally here's the climax of the film. Like it just, in comparison to other slasher movies, um, within that time period, and then
Certainly on the
just
from the
even
Mount Rushmore. Certainly from the Mount
yeah, it
Rushmore, yeah.
just it's in comparison to, like I said, other installments in the franchise, this one is very underwhelming.
Mhm.
It did not hold my attention at all, unfortunately.
Okay, okay. This is not what I was
And
expecting. Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it had been a really long time since I last watched it. So
Mhm.
I was actually really surprised at how I felt about it. I think
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
because when I think of Friday the 13th, I think of the franchise as a whole as opposed to like that particular movie. Um, I mean, like it's still iconic in that it started, like it was really the movie that caused the 80s slashers that that we know about.
Okay.
And when we think of slasher tropes and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff,
Mhm.
that's the
Okay.
one that you think of. Obviously, like you have Halloween and even Black Christmas before it that
I would
really kind of
argue, I would
started that off.
specify,
But
I would specify
mm,
that the general public would think of this one more as the most
yeah,
popularized. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I mean. That's what I mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But then
yeah.
even then,
Just a
like
tweak.
this movie isn't the movie doesn't really kind of find its footing and figure out exactly what it is and what it wants
No,
to do until the third
structurally,
movie.
it's hmm,
It does
okay.
not at all in this movie. Um, a better film around about the same time that is like a good summer camp type slasher. Watch The Burning. That one's a fun one.
I haven't actually heard of that.
Yeah, that's an
I don't
80s
think.
slasher set at a summer camp. There's one
It,
bit, the guy who's the killer, he's got some like big garden shears and he like just gets someone in the eyeballs, like shoves the shears into the guy's eyeballs and then just closes it on. It's so
I've
good.
heard of that or seen that on a
Mm,
montage on
yeah.
something or other on
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I think I know of that kill.
Yeah.
And what year did
But yeah,
that
like
come out?
when I was watching this, I'm just there thinking of, as ridiculous as later installments of Friday the 13th are,
Mm.
they feel more entertaining. Like it's a slasher movie. It's not going to be like super like a masterpiece of cinema or anything like that. And like Oscar worthy performances from people. That isn't what you expect. But
That's not what you go in thinking you
yeah,
shouldn't anyway.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But like even later stuff, I just those ones are more memorable. You have more memorable
Mhm.
characters. The kills seem more fun. And then even just the premise is a little bit more ridiculous and it's just more enjoyable. This one just like, okay,
Okay. Okay.
why am I supposed to care?
I hear you. I hear you.
I
Because I'm
still
not
have stuff about it that I like, but
sure, sure. Um,
eh,
because my opinion's similar. My opinion is similar,
mm,
actually. I have seen this film many times.
mm,
Let's say I've seen this 7 times, but it's always been in the
yeah,
background. It's
oh yeah, yeah,
like in a
mm,
noisy environment or people
yeah,
just talking, that sort of thing. We're paying little to no attention. This is the first time I've sat down and watched it properly
mm,
and critically, if you will. Um, and yeah, for now, I'll say, yeah, I get why it's iconic. Absolutely.
yeah, mm,
I get why it's important. But yeah, and just the things you're saying, like structurally, it's a
mm,
mess. It
yeah,
meander.
yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely a
mm,
word. My first critique that when I ever
yeah,
watched this, God, the second act especially. Yeah, the second
yeah,
in the
yeah,
middle. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Um, and I don't think it's terrible, but
mm,
I don't think it's great either.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just say that for now. I'll just say that for now. Um, what have I got? What have I got here? All right, campers are singing in a church,
Oh
Christian
yeah,
songs. That's the,
yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god.
and what is it? Whoever rowed the boat to shore, Hallelujah, that song. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the two camp counselors are just, yeah,
Mm.
they're just, yeah.
Yeah.
They're getting into each other and then they go over into the corner and make out. I
Mm.
thought that was
Yeah.
quite ironic. Ironic's not the word,
Mm.
hypocritical.
Yeah.
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 But more importantly, is we've got this. We're hearing the sound that we were talking about before.
Mm.
And we're seeing the stalkers. I'll
Mm.
just say stalkers for now.
Yeah.
Point of view. Um, and
One thing that I do like
thank you.
is there's a lot of just as the person is going to be killed, there's a decent amount of them directly addressing the killer and saying, like, talking to them.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
depending
Eh?
on the
Yeah.
way in which they initially are interacting with the person, it can
Mhm.
obviously start out with being like, oh my God, what's going on? Why are you doing this kind of thing?
Mhm.
But then there's other ones where they're just talking like, hey, no, I'm sorry, we were just fooling around, we didn't mean anything.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
and then suddenly they're getting stabbed or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
like that aspect.
Yeah. No, I thought that was cool. I thought that
Which
was cool. And
once the killer's revealed and you know who the killer
yes.
is, them
Yes.
having that response makes a lot
Yes.
of sense.
It does make a lot of sense and it makes it more interesting because it
Mm.
keeps your eyes out for Easter eggs because
Yes.
there's some visual Easter eggs in this
Mm.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That when you go back and watch it, knowing, what the reveal is. And for
Mm.
those, to that end, for those who have, like all the other Fridays, because they do get quite trashy. I've seen the
Mm.
majority of them
Yes.
again in the
Yes. I've seen
background,
all
shall
of
we
them.
say.
I've seen all
Um,
of them, but majority of them was a long time ago. So
and I get the campy appeal, but go back
yes.
and watch it in with the through the lens of who the killer is. It does make it a bit more
Mm.
interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Uh yep, and she go and the use of it throughout.
Mm.
It's kind of incidental because they had very little money. There was like 500,000, five hundred fifty
Yeah.
thousand to make this film. And even back in 1980, that's nothing. Yeah.
Mm.
It's nothing
Yeah.
to make a feature film. And they never made it. Oh, had they made a feature film before? No, they had actually hadn't made a feature film. They'd made for
Mm.
a whole bunch of TV stuff and that sort of thing. And they were trying to make money to make a soccer film. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad this came along for them.
Incredible.
I'm
Yeah.
glad this came along for all of them. Yeah. And the use of the POV, the way it switches,
Mm.
yeah, we'll go into it. I think incidental, yes, but also there's some good work in it. There is some clever
Mm.
stuff in this
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, out of the cinematography wise, and it's they utilize their resources well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think that. Um, now. So yeah, okay. So yeah, this goes from outside the cabin to inside the cabin. And then we get this use of slow motion as the two camp counselors who are basically about to get
Mm.
it on. The stalker comes in and goes into a kind of very reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw
Mm.
Massacre slow motion sequence of the female counselor's face, yeah, screaming in terror.
Yeah.
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 And then you get the titles, the credits. The title sequence, I should say. What do
Mm.
you think of the title sequence?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought it was kind
Mm.
of nifty. The broken glass was kind of cool. The broken
Mm.
glass was kind of
Yeah.
cool. Um, and yeah, did you know this film isn't considered a horror film by a lot of people?
Really?
Not a lot, by a fair few, shall I say? A fair few.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Because it,
just that
it can
a
be
few.
kind of like because of the format of it, you certainly could argue that it's kind of a murder mystery
That sort
kind
of
of
thing.
kind of
Yes.
vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, a summer camp movie that, and they happen to be killed by an unknown
Yeah.
assailant. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I
But
mean
that's
that's the general premise of giallo, and they get lumped into
okay.
the horror category
Okay.
because they're so violent and there's so much blood everywhere. But giallo films are essentially murder mystery films.
Hmm.
Like the origin of the term
Hmm.
giallo in reference to that genre is there'd be so giallo is the Italian word for yellow, and
Hmm.
so
That's
there
right.
would
That's right.
be
Yes.
basically like as like books that would be these murder mystery novels, and this is Italian ones, and they would always have this certain particular shade of yellow for their cover, and so that's
Okay.
why giallo is known is in reference
Huh.
to that particular category. So
Didn't know
yeah,
that. That's very cool.
yep, that's the
Yeah. Yeah.
origin of the term giallo when you're referring to those particular films. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, like they aren't technically horror films because they are murder mystery ones, but
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the amount of violence that is in them and just how much blood is everywhere, you lump them into the category.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, exactly. No, no,
Yeah.
they're discussed all the time in horror
Mm.
discourse,
Yeah.
definitely. I think they are very influential. I mean, there's Dario Argento isn't technically,
Yeah. Yeah.
technically frame him as Giallo, but that whole
Yeah,
school, he's the most
he
popular.
has done he's done a decent amount of giallo. It's just like
Okay.
Suspiria, for instance. That isn't a giallo film.
No,
That isn't
no.
giallo.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
But he
because it's
has done a fair
Italian doesn't
few,
mean
yeah.
it's
Okay.
giallo. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you
Okay.
can also argue that something like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, those kinds of movies, they can also like they're slashers,
Hmm.
absolutely, but they are
Okay.
also like who done it murder mystery kind of films as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you don't
Absolutely.
mm,
This this movie, that tradition's been going on a while, like, since Hitchcock, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
this movie
Well,
shares almost a
Psycho.
mirror.
Yeah, when
If
you
you
think
think about
yeah,
this
when you
movie,
think of yeah.
yeah, there's a mirror
Like
parallel
there's a
between
moment
this
that
movie
yeah,
and Psycho, yeah, of
there's a
influence.
moment in the climax that I'm like, this feels so much like Norman Bates dressed as
Yeah,
mother with the knife. Just it looked almost exactly the same.
yeah, 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 yeah. Um, hilarious, hilarious. So point being, that you would relate this to that tradition, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like if
okay,
it wasn't
okay.
as like violent in like
Mhm.
in terms of the way in which the kills are being depicted, if they were being depicted in a way that was more toned down and more subtle, it wouldn't be a horror film. It would be more akin to a murder mystery.
Yeah, okay, okay. And that's because it was of 1980 as well.
Mm.
I think has a part to play considering when the sequels went. It definitely followed
Yes.
the
Yeah.
tone of
Yeah.
slashers as it
Yes.
went
More.
along.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
felt more
yeah.
80s as it went on, I guess you could say.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
We may as well bring up now, because we're not going to be talking a great deal about Jason in this movie.
Mm.
No, um,
Yeah.
there's Jason and Michael Myers,
Mm.
as you know. And you've got Chucky and Freddy. They're the other two on the Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore. That's the four of the Mount Rushmore.
Mm.
Chucky and Freddy are the funny ones. They're the ones with the witty
Yes.
dialogue.
Yeah.
Jason and Michael are not, of course.
Mm.
They're the silent,
Mm.
unstoppable killers. Yeah. Michael Myers
Yes.
took it to the point of, is it called is defined as the shape?
The shape. The
Yeah.
shape. That's what he's referred to as in like the script of the original Halloween. He's
Mhm.
just the shape. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going towards mythology.
Mm.
That sort of
Oh
shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
there's a whole like little I think it's I can't remember which number it is, but there's a whole thing like the Cult of Thorn and all that. And
Mhm.
the
Sorry, say that again.
Halloween
Sorry, say that
franchise
again.
timeline is all over the shop because there's so many they're like, no, we're actually gonna just completely ignore what
Yeah.
just happened in the past like two movies and do our own thing. And then a
Yeah.
few
Yeah.
movies
Yeah.
later, we're gonna ignore that and do our own thing. And it's all over the place. It's crazy.
Well, these two franchises share a very concurrent timeline with each other. Yeah.
Mm.
You've got Halloween, which is that 78?
78, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. 1980, and then they both put out a sequel. 1980 for the original Friday, then they both put out a sequel in 1981. Yeah, and for the 80s, they were just running nose to nose to the
Yeah.
point that there's 13 Friday movies. This is just according to Google. You can correct me, please, if I'm
Um,
wrong. And 12 Halloweens.
I think, yeah, I'm trying to think. Because I know that there's at least 10 Friday films because Jason X exists. And then I think after that there's the 2009 remake, and then there's also Freddy vs. Jason.
Do you want me to bring it up
I
on
don't know if there's
Wikipedia?
anything other than that, but the most recent film that
Tell
we've
us if we're wrong,
had,
children. Write to us. Write to
yeah,
me.
yeah. If the most recent film that we've had has been that 2009 remake,
Mhm.
because
Okay.
all those
Yeah.
legal issues that have been going on in terms of
So
who
that's
owns
12.
what.
So that's 12. No, so it's 12,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So what's the other one? Camp Crystal, a
I don't
TV
know.
show?
I
The
don't know.
TV show? Are they counting the TV
Oh,
show? Because that hasn't been released yet.
have you seen the recent stuff that was going on about that TV show?
No, I haven't been following.
What do you know about it?
I haven't been following.
Okay. So, A24 produced film
Mm.
to be, sorry, TV show to be streaming on Peacock.
I didn't know it was
Brian Fuller,
824.
yeah, yeah.
Brian
Brian
Fuller.
Fuller, who did Hannibal,
Yeah, I know
um,
Brian Fuller is. Yeah,
being
yeah,
like the
yeah.
main guy creating it. A TV show called Crystal Lake that's a prequel,
Yeah, I know it's a
right?
prequel. Yeah,
So,
I do know
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm there thinking, okay, this is giving me Bates Motel vibes. So we'll see. I watched the first season of that, never continued with it, just didn't get
Same.
around to it. So I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's good or not. I don't know.
Bates
Yeah,
Motel.
so it
No,
just
I
made me think
didn't.
Bates
I
Motel.
dropped out of Bates
So
Motel, but that's another story.
recently, as in I saw a post about it last night saying that, oh, it's been indefinitely dropped, and no further comments have been put up, so we don't know what's going on. We'll let you know when more information comes out. And then like I wake up the next day and I see from like Bloody Disgusting being like,
Mm.
no, none of that's true. It's, as far as we know, it's still it's still like in the works. So I don't know what's happening with that, but that's something that's been talked about for a while now.
Yeah, okay.
So
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know what's going on with that. I
Well,
have no idea.
I hope that I hope that it is,
Yeah, because like,
made, because
yeah,
that's a
A24
good,
being, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, A24 and
that's a
Brian
good card
Fuller.
for want of a better word. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's, yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'd watch the shit out of that. I'd watch the
yeah.
shit out
And
of
then there
that
was a
because, yeah.
yeah. Dead by Daylight is, I think, the most successful of this like asymmetrical horror game, where you
I
have
was,
one
okay,
person
that's the game.
playing the
Okay. Yeah.
killer, you
Thank you.
have all the other people playing the survivors. But I'm not sure which one came out first, but there was a Friday the 13th game that was the same concept where one person is playing Jason and you can unlock different versions of Jason, different powers and
Okay.
stuff. And
Okay.
then you would have the the other people being the people trying to survive from him. And because of the ongoing legal battles for that, that had to stop, like in terms of ongoing patches and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff, and just eventually it
Hmm.
ended up dying because it's an online game. Basically, just like
Hmm. Okay.
the
I'm
servers
with you.
had to be killed off for it. But there's a Texas Chainsaw game that's the same format, same concept. That's the thing that exists now.
Yeah, I
I
have,
haven't looked into
no,
it or anything like that
neither.
because I don't have friends for me to play online games with, and I don't want to play with strangers because I'm shit.
Been mocked by
And I
children
will let the team
during those
down, and
games.
I
Yeah,
don't
been mocked
like
by
that.
children
I feel
while
too
you're playing
guilty.
games. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you. I'm with you. So we can give them 13, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. Is there 12 Halloweens?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not the
I
expert
don't
on either
know.
franchise, to be absolutely honest.
I don't know.
The point of all this, though.
Because at least with the
Mm,
Friday the 13th ones, like,
mm,
I mean, the same thing is the case with the Saw movies, as an example. At least they're numbered, so you know how many there
sure.
are. For like the Halloween ones, it's like once they get to a certain point, they're no longer like numbered. They don't have a number next to them. So I'm like, I don't know which one that is off the top of my head. I've got no idea.
Well, the real question is, which one do you prefer, Jason or
Michael.
Freddy? All that
Michael.
says, yes,
I
you're more
prefer
Michael.
Michael, but
Yes,
yeah,
okay.
if you're comparing the voiceless ones, but Jason or Freddy, I prefer Freddy to Jason.
All right. So what's your to start with? What's your least favorite franchise, and what's your favorite?
Of
Yeah.
the big ones.
Yes, if you can answer that now, because I can. Yeah. I can.
What yeah, which franchises are we considering in the big ones? Obviously, like
Rushmore. Let's stay
Freddy,
with
Jason,
Rushmore. Let's stay
Michael.
with Rushmore.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then Chucky.
Yeah, of course.
Chucky first. Chucky.
Yeah.
Number one.
Chucky's
Then
number one.
Freddy. Then
Yeah.
Michael. Then Jason.
Yeah. Exactly. I do agree. Very good. Very good. I'm pleased with that.
I do like that Jason ends up becoming a
I'm the
zombie.
same.
And then like all that weird stuff about him, like his soul possessing different people, and
Yeah, they're not terrible.
yeah.
I mean, I don't dislike them.
They get ridiculous
And I don't
and
dislike
more
or hate
fun.
this movie
And Jason
either.
Takes Manhattan is fun. And
That's so
majority
bad.
of the movie they're on a boat to
so
New York.
bad.
It's
almost
majority
too
of
bad.
the
It's
movie
almost
they're
too
on a
bad
boat.
for there, Dorian. I have to tap out with that one. No, that's because I
And
was
then Jason
waiting
X is iconic.
for Manhattan.
Jason X is iconic. It has the iconic
I haven't
kill
seen
with
it.
him
I haven't
shut-
seen it.
Oh,
No.
so
Shout
it's in
out
the
Shay, my
future.
flatmate. We're going to watch that.
Yeah.
And Sam, we're going to watch that together.
Yes. Yeah. It's in the future. They find his body and it's like, oh, he's from like the year 2024. Oh, that's the year that the sport hockey was outlawed. Okay. But yeah, his body gets like
Hockey?
brought back from the dead using nanobots because it's the future.
Absolutely.
And so that's also
in
why his mask looks
1997.
different. Yeah. But there's this really awesome kill that involves like liquid nitrogen. Like someone's head gets like frozen in that and then pulled up and then smashed on the counter.
That's
and
a good
every
kill.
time
I know
I
that
have
kill.
someone
I do
talking
know that
shit
kill.
about Jason X, every time there's someone talking shit about Jason X, I'm like, okay, of all of the iconic kills that you can remember that really stick out in your brain from the entire franchise, name them. They always mention that one, and I'm like, that's from fucking Jason X.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So,
okay. Well defended.
like, I mean, it's a stupid premise, but also like, where the fuck else are they gonna go with it? Like, I'm waiting for Fast and the Furious to go to do the same thing. I haven't watched any of them, but like, where can they go
to space?
from here?
Of course, space.
They have to go to space.
They
have nowhere else to go.
Dorian, there is
it's
talk
the final
of Chucky.
frontier.
John Mancini is
Oh my
seriously
God, I want
considering
Chucky
Chucky
in
going to
space.
space.
I mean, fuck's sake. You even had
I wouldn't be
you even
mad.
had a
I wouldn't be
Hellraiser
mad.
movie in space.
You have.
There was a Hellraiser movie in space.
Number 4.
So
Number 4.
Yes.
Yeah. And it started off in the 18th century France, and then it went to space. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah,
Chucky would make space work. Usually, it's the death of a franchise. Oh, it's been said that it's the death of a franchise.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Chucky season 4. Let's go. Take him to space.
Yes, definitely.
He's in the White House. Let's take him to space. Chucky season 4.
And put it out there that we need a season 4. We need a season 4 as well, because I don't know. Have you listened to those interviews?
Yes.
Yeah. With the Dorifs and Tilly.
Yeah.
The pitch apparently out their children, they were all saying it's amazing. They were all blown away by it. We'll go into that after. We'll go into Chucky after we've done the movie. Yeah.
We need it.
Absolutely.
All
right.
Yes. We keep getting distracted by stuff that we enjoyed more.
Absolutely. Michael was better than Jason. And Chucky and Freddy both collectively kick their ass. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And Annie walks into town. What's the name of the town? I didn't bother.
Doesn't matter. I can't remember.
Yeah. It's in New Jersey. No. This is all filmed in New Jersey. Yeah. Camp Crystal Lake is still in New Jersey, and it's still open, and it's still used as what is shown as in the movie, and people go there all the time to do the sightseeing, shall we say, the dark tourism, of course. Yeah, and she goes into the diner, and then it's like it's a flippin' Western.
Yeah,
All the
yeah.
sound stops, and they all turn
Yeah.
around,
Yeah, because
all
she
the
asked to
locals.
go to Crystal Lake and everyone's like
Yeah.
stops and looks at her.
And then Enos gives her a lift. Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
That's when you
this
have
is
Crazy Ralph.
oh, sorry, my bad, my bad.
Yeah.
Let's not jump ahead of
Yeah.
Crazy
Yeah.
Ralph. Yes.
So, um, when I was watching it, is that the first iteration of that trope?
Don't That's what I was
Or
going to
are
ask this
there
question later on, but yeah, let's go
previous
into it
movies
now.
that have had
Absolutely.
that kind of trope? Because
Well,
they spoof it really, really well in Cabin in the Woods. The way they do
yes.
that in Cabin in the Woods is
Yeah,
so
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
good.
yeah.
But yeah, like so
Well,
yeah, this like
question
crazy
then, Dorian.
old dude.
I
Yeah.
thought about this. I did think about this.
Yeah.
And my question to you is, do you consider the hitchhiker in Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be the first
Mm.
iteration, or the prototype,
It could,
the
yeah.
major influence?
Yeah. Yeah. It is not this, it isn't like a one-to-one comparison because he's
No, it's not.
directly involved with it, but it's definitely, you can
That beat
see the like,
in the
yeah,
screenplay, you know what I mean,
yeah,
the
yeah,
story. I think it
yeah,
does fulfill that,
mm,
yeah, and the need of
yeah,
the
definitely,
narrative.
mm,
But
yeah,
he's great. He's great as well as shout out
yeah.
this guy. What did you think of him? Well, I just quickly found
Going to
his name.
Camp Blood, ain't you? Got a death curse. And they're like,
Doomed.
oh, that's just
You're all
crazy, Ralph.
doomed.
He just gets he just gets drunk and causes a ruckus. We arrest him. He spends the night in lockup, and then like, okay, yeah,
Crazy Ralph
the
is
trope of they're going off somewhere, and then they've asked for directions at like a gas station, usually. And then here's someone nearby who's heard what their intended destination is and is
well,
telling them,
and
oh no, you can't go
yeah,
there. You'll
yeah.
die if you go there. It's terrible. But they're being like deliberately, like conveniently enough for the sake of the movie, they're being cryptic enough that the people that they're like, okay, yeah, sure, you crazy person, bye, and just completely ignore them. So
Yeah. I think so. I think so. Walt Gorney, rest in peace,
yeah, Walt
1912 to
Gorney.
2004. Yeah, he played
Mm,
Crazy Ralph. Spectacularly. I'm not sure
mm,
if it's intentionally great. I'm not wanting to diss on it at all because I think I really enjoyed him, but it's really funny.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's almost
yeah.
pleased to deliver the news.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. He looks so happy about it while he's saying all this stuff like, oh, you're all gonna die, you're all doomed. But he has this weird like grin on his face while
yeah,
he's saying it.
yeah. No, I was laughing my ass off. Absolutely. Just like I was laughing when Annie was played by, sorry, I'm not the quickest at doing this. I'm not Jamie from fucking Joe Rogan. Alice Annie is played by Robbie Morgan. A lot of it's so important to note that basically this whole cast, apart from one we won't say for now. No, actually, we've already said it. Betsy Palmer plays Mrs.
Yeah.
Voorhees. Yeah, Jason's
Yes.
mother's the killer.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
I think she's fantastic. I think
she
she's
is
great in
fantastic.
this. She's
She's my
great.
MVP. She's my
Oh yeah, yeah. I
obviously.
thought it might have been
I mean,
her.
who else could it be?
Yeah, yeah.
um, Later on in his career, you may have given it to the only person who actually went on to do anything else of any
Mm,
significance, acting wise, I should say,
mm.
is Kevin Bacon. Yeah.
Yes.
Is this
Yes.
his first role? I actually just thought of
I
that, but
don't
I should have
know.
looked that up. Yeah. Let us know, children. These aren't deep dives, by the way. These
No,
movies could
no.
easily come back as deep dives, with all the facts and
Yeah.
juicy stories. We're just getting through the gateway stuff. We might go into more deep dives later on in the horror iceberg, but
Yeah,
these
because I feel
movies,
that a
yeah.
lot of them won't have enough content for us to actually properly talk about them. So we'll have
That
to do some
hasn't
deep dive to
been
give
that hasn't been said
something to talk
before.
about.
That hasn't been said before, and over a
Yeah,
million
yeah,
movie podcasts that are out there. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, 100,000 horror movie
yeah.
podcasts. Let's be reasonable. Apart from, if you want to talk entertainment, though, Bill was played by Harry Crosby,
Yeah.
and that's Bing Crosby's son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I learned today. I learned to say. So there you go. For our older
Mm.
children. Yeah, and a lot of them hadn't even acted before, let alone do anything
Mm.
else afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether that works or not, I don't know. What do you reckon? Because before I go into how the acting was done on camera because of the need to, what did
Mm.
you think of like the general acting of this movie, Dorian, before I answer?
Um, I don't know, like I thought it was fine, but again, like, early 80s slasher, my expectations are pretty
Yeah,
low.
you don't go into it
So,
looking for, yes,
yeah.
memorable performances, let's just say.
Mm,
Well, memorable you do,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
not noteworthy, perhaps. Um, okay, but they were working under bizarre pressures.
Mm,
Because we're up to the movie here. Annie is in the truck with Enos. Enos was
yeah.
before I go there. Enos was, I don't know. Enos through 2024 eyes was a unusual character. Not unusual. He was a bit
Yeah.
suspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little suspect.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, admittedly, I'm at the point with like any like horror movie, you catching a ride with someone hitchhiking.
mm, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely,
like I have a
absolutely.
vague idea. Like I
Yeah,
just expect something shifty to go on.
yeah. This movie is a
Or it'd be the other way
1982
around. I
movie.
mean, I've seen The Hitcher, so
Nice.
the other way around.
Yeah, this is a 1980 movie,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and the iceberg. We're not
That
going
kind of
to,
stuff is rife in
yeah,
80s films anyway.
absolutely. And
So
let's just say from here on in that with the horror icebergs like this,
it's gonna get worse.
it's going to get worse. We're on the gateway tier,
Gonna get worse.
you can handle all the movies that are coming up on the gateway tier. Absolutely, it's going to get worse. So
Yeah.
if you're watching, listening, thank you very much. The horror icebergs,
Mm.
podcast. You know what you're in for. Yeah, you know what's up before
Yeah.
you come in. Yeah, let's just say that. Okay. So back to the lift. Enos and Annie, the two actors. Enos is played by the Rex Eberhardt. They were not
Mm.
acting with each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you found it a bit awkward because this movie was awkward
Mm.
before this moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Even the Crazy Ralph, but when he's bicycling away, biking
Yeah,
away.
yeah, on his
Yeah.
bike. He just gets on his little bike and rides
Yeah.
off. Oh, I love it.
Oh God, it was funny. I forget the name of the really old French movies. They're comedies where there's slapstick, where there's this
Oh,
postman on
I
a
don't know.
bike. Yeah,
Yeah.
reminded me of that. Yeah. If you know, you know, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, really funny shit. But yeah, they weren't acting with each other. That's why that moment seems off. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so when I was watching this, I kept in mind the circumstances behind
Mm,
the movie. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And its year, I think that's important there, children. Certainly,
Mm,
those who like the older movies and are trying to come back to this, keep in mind, yeah, the
yeah.
circumstances behind it, which we're going to go into more so. And 1980 first film, yeah, haven't made a film before. Film's not easy. Film's
Mm,
not fucking
yeah.
easy. Okay, Enos runs through history of Camp Blood. Camp Blood is what someone in
Mm,
the diner called it, yeah?
yeah. Yeah.
And they do say that a boy drowned in 1958. First little bit of kind of foreshadowing, yeah,
Yeah.
of what's to come. Blah, blah, blah. Camp Crystal Lake had opened in 1935. It says that on the sign. And then we meet, I thought, what was his name? Steve. What did you think of Steve, Dorian, when you first meet Steve?
Um,
His outfit. What did you think? Think of
yeah.
his outfit. That's what I really
His
want to
little
get to.
neckerchief that he had on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like to begin with, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. But then he has this interaction with Alice, who's the final girl of the film.
Mhm,
And I'm like,
mhm,
oh,
mhm.
I don't like that. No wonder she's wanting to leave.
She's
But
playing
I
she's
mean,
playing
he
along.
seems, yeah, yeah, he
Yeah,
seems
yeah, yeah.
nice enough. but also
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the time, it was of the times,
Mm,
that it was
yeah.
made. Um, I guess, there's been exploitation movies,
Mm.
exploitation
Yeah,
horrors even
maybe that's what it
before
is. I'm
this
just
and
so
such.
used to,
Yeah, me
I'm just so
too.
used to
We
things
have that
leading
in
us
mind.
into a certain direction that
Yeah, absolutely. That's even with Ned, because the first line he says, I know I'm
Mm,
jumping around, sorry,
yeah.
that he says when he's giving her a lift before they're getting in the truck is, oh, all it says, say, all
Yeah,
hitchhikers, all
are they all
campers,
gonna be as pretty
yeah,
as
as
you?
pretty as
Yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
automatically thinking suspect, you're going to be abducted.
Yeah.
And then I'm also going, this is just a sparked movie
That's a different movie.
that you've watched. Um, Alice is played, so Steve was played by Peter Browner. Alice was played by Adrian King. And she did well. I see why Alice is,
Yeah, yeah.
I assume she's in the pantheon of
Mm.
like final girls, yeah. Or is she?
Not I mean, like she absolutely is a final girl, but when you're
Yeah.
talking about final girls, you think of like Nancy and Laurie
Hmm.
and
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, the final girls in the Friday the 13th movies aren't really involved, like considered in those lists, really.
Okay,
Like you've got
interesting.
Sydney
Okay.
from Scream as
Yeah,
well.
of
She gets
course. Yeah.
added in that list.
Hmm.
Yeah, like Sally, Texas Chainsaw. But
Yeah. Yeah. Sally. Yes.
yeah, like
Yes.
so
She's the
Alice
OG. She's the
is
OG, the
yeah,
original.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Sally from Texas
yeah,
Chainsaw. Yeah. And
yeah,
then,
yeah. Alice from the first one, and then Ginny is the one from the second one.
oh, it doesn't
Um
continue. Alice doesn't continue as the
no.
final girl. Ah, okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
spoilers, Alice gets killed at the beginning of the second film.
I know she gets killed. I know she gets killed in
Yeah.
the second one. Yeah.
But
Yes.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they
The
don't
children.
really yeah, when people are talking about these final girls, which is more of something typical more in like slasher films than any other horror genre, really. Um, but yeah, the ones from Friday the 13th are typically not really mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Like maybe it's
Interesting.
because
Interesting.
like their like character arc over the course of it isn't like iconic enough for it to stick in people's minds, maybe.
Hmm.
Like in comparison, because that's what truly makes a final girl, in that their personal growth over the course of the story and the way in which they kind of
Yeah, okay. When you say
their
personal
their
growth,
transformation,
when
physical
you
and
say personal
emotional
growth, emotional, there does need to be
transformation.
more of an arc.
Yeah,
And
at the
Annie
end, yeah.
did her best with the material, and she's one of the she's more
Mm,
standout, if not the standout
yeah.
non-actor. Yeah. I believe
Mm,
she wasn't really acting before this. Well, not the experience, not the experience of like Betsy Palmer or anything.
yeah.
I thought yeah, that she did do pretty well, and I did
Yeah, yeah.
perceive it as a final girl at the end, but there wasn't a character arc, but that was the writing. That was definitely down
Yeah.
to the writing.
Yeah.
So no, I concur. I concur,
Mm.
but I think she did do well. She didn't do much acting after this, unfortunately, because she was stalked
Oh, fuck.
from but as a result of this movie, and sadly,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that
yeah.
sucks.
And it took her a good 30 or so years before
Yeah.
she started doing anything else,
Oh,
roughly give or
jeez.
take a few projects in between, but
Yeah.
before really started getting into it
Why
again.
can't people be normal?
Yeah, I know it
Like,
sucks. Yeah,
be
Jesus
normal.
Christ.
Jeez.
Yeah. Leave others alone, certainly to that
Yeah.
extent. Yeah, no, that was very sad to hear. Um, Jay, does the POV of Pamela Voorhees, Betsy Palmer,
Mm.
always work in this movie? Because they intentionally switch it up between
Yeah.
a cinematic view, for one, just to put it
Mm.
simply,
Yeah.
and a point of view of the killer where it goes
Yeah.
to more of, I think it's a handy cam because it shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's entirely cohesive?
Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I like the bits where it's like as in the person who is about to be killed and it's the POV, the killer's POV, in that interaction
Mhm.
there. I really like that.
hmm
Um,
hmm
but
Yeah.
then other instances of that POV isn't like, unless it's something that's done for the sake of like to add tension kind of thing, then like it
And
really
that's the
doesn't,
thing.
not
That's the thing with this
necessary. There's not
movie.
much tension in this movie,
There's not much tension in this movie. It tries to, I
which is why
think,
it doesn't really feel like a horror movie,
I think it
with
tries
the
to have
exception of the gore.
tension and suspense, but it
Mm,
fails to
yeah.
do so because of two things, I think. One is it needs tighter editing.
Mm,
Because, and in relation to that as well is that there's too much focus on just inane business, setting
yeah.
of camp.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Hanging out a lot too much sort of
Yeah.
thing. I'm just going cut. Anyway, this is
Yeah.
in the second
Yeah.
act in particular, and we did mention the structure of it.
Mm,
And the first act is hilarious. Second
yeah.
act is just meanders. And third act is really quite good,
Yeah.
and for its time, potentially brilliant. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I saw the structure of this movie. And when you're trying to work under those circumstances, and everything involved with the experience factor, it's not
Mm,
terrible. It's not. I've seen
yeah. Yeah.
far, far
Yeah.
worse. Yeah, yeah. So it's not. That's why I don't hate this film. It's not.
Mm,
It's not. It's not
yeah. It's
cringe
just
worthy.
it. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Just could have
not
been done
like,
better. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes
It
sense.
just doesn't kind of live up to the hype, I guess.
There's that. There is definitely that. There is definitely that. But the reveal is classy.
Yeah.
The reveal of Jason,
Yeah.
sorry, Jason, fucking Pam, Mama Voorhees
Yes.
is
Yeah.
done well.
Yeah. The way
Is
the reveal
classy.
is done is really good.
And it is a throwback to the 70s horrors, like of The
Mm,
Omen and that sort of thing, the way to,
yeah.
build up to something, to reveal
Mm,
something, which relates to
yeah.
how we said this could be a murder mystery,
Yeah.
movie Hitchcockian style. Maybe being a bit generous. Anyway, yeah, the acting's all good. Kevin Bacon, he's just been Kevin Bacon.
Mm.
Moving on.
Yeah. Kevin Bacon being Kevin Bacon. Watch
Absolutely.
Tremors instead if you want to see Kevin Bacon in a horror movie. Just watch Tremors.
Shout out Baron. The Baron would highly agree with you.
Ah.
Yeah. um, okay, so there's the first kill was 22 minutes in because this film is not.
Mm.
There is some gore in it, and it's
Yeah.
punctuated when it happens. Shout out Tom Savini does really
Yes.
well in this film, of course.
Yeah.
Um, but there's not a lot of it, and it takes a long time to build to it, and that goes along with the
Yeah.
restricted narrative. At this point,
Mm.
no one knows there's a killer. Certainly not at 22
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know that someone is up to something, is stalking,
Mm.
the camp,
Yeah.
and we know that the camp has a dark history until fucking Annie gets killed 22 minutes in with the first kill. Yeah, and she catches a ride with Mama Voorhees, and that's
Yeah.
where you don't see, we just see the camera looking at
Yeah.
Alice. You don't see who Alice is looking at, you just see her reactions.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. The camera is from essentially the driver's seat looking towards the
yeah,
person in
driver's
the
point of
passenger
view.
seat.
Yeah, but that does not switch as it always
No.
does in every other film in history.
Yeah.
So that was utilized well because they have that,
Mm.
where they don't have both actors on set.
Yeah.
There, it worked out well for them. Yeah.
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 So again, doing well with what they have,
Mm.
Even though the ADR, the voiceover, sounded fucking terrible.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
sounded fucking terrible at this point. But that's fucking voiceovers certainly back
Yeah.
then.
That's ADR for you.
She gets her knife slit, yes,
Mm.
by someone who's chasing her through the woods, gave her a lift in the Jeep. What did you think of the first kill?
Yeah. I mean, it's the first kill. Like usually first kills are just to kind of inform the audience. Yep,
Mhm.
this is the thing that's going to be happening. Um,
Your videos are
yeah,
there you go.
yeah,
Yep, you're cool.
yeah. And so typically first kills aren't like in these kinds of slashes, they usually aren't like super memorable. They're more to inform the audience that there's a killer, but the characters, the other characters don't know this is happening yet, but now you do. You're in on the secret, audience. Don't tell
Yes.
anyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're the voyeur. Yeah, you're just as
Yeah,
responsible. But
yeah,
they've got to realize, yes, but that's we like that.
yes.
Which is
That's
why
why
these
we're
films,
here.
which is why slashes is the
Mm,
biggest
yeah,
subgenre of horror.
yeah,
Absolutely, it's almost
yes,
its own
yeah,
thing. You could argue that slasher horror
yeah.
is its
I
own
think
thing.
maybe that's why I'm so critical of this movie because I've seen so many slasher films.
Okay,
And
okay,
so I've seen
that's fair.
stuff that
That's fair.
is using that same format, but
Mhm.
executed far more effectively.
Yeah, but you do have to give it that this kind of paved the
Yeah, I
way
mean,
for
yeah,
this and
obviously,
Halloween, of
like,
course.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
This
yeah.
Halloween,
Take into
Texas,
account all of that stuff, but
and
also it's like
yeah,
I feel that people are viewing it with those like rose tinted viewpoint
oh,
because,
always
you
with
know,
these things. And I was
with
talking with
this
my
original one. Yeah.
absolutely always the rose tinted glasses, and I do admit
Mm.
on my own part that with Chucky, yeah, Child's Play,
Oh
you can go
yeah.
back and pull
Yeah.
those movies to pieces.
Yeah.
Apart from the first one. Anyway, I'd argue with you. Argue with me,
Yeah.
children. So I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Like, this isn't me saying, oh, it's a fucking terrible. Like, no, like, hey, they made a movie with like
they
almost
definitely
no
made it.
budget.
Yeah,
They
they
didn't know
definitely
what
made
the
a
fuck they
movie.
were
That's a great
doing,
way to
but
put
they
it.
still
Yeah,
managed to make a movie that they were able to make an iconic franchise from that
mhm,
inspired so many other filmmakers and so many other pieces of media.
absolutely.
So, that's
Whilst
something that
we're
needs
on
to
the
be taken
history
into
track,
account.
absolutely. And whilst we're on the history track, my flatmate said that his mum, who's about 60-ish now, went and
Mm.
saw this when she was younger, when coming
Oh.
out, initially. And there were people, she saw people running out. Saw people,
Oh,
not
yeah.
necessarily vomiting, but dry heaving, just getting
Yeah.
really fucking
Yeah.
freaked out.
Yeah.
She was fine.
That's fair.
She's an old
Yeah.
goth. She was like, that's fine.
Yes.
You've seen Clockwork Orange. Yeah, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Um, so we are so we are seeing it through 20, well, we've
Yeah,
seen a
yeah,
lot of
absolutely.
slashers lens
Yeah.
before this, yeah. So it does, point being, it deserves its credit for its time.
Yeah.
That Tom Savini's kills were also brutal.
Yes.
They were brutal. You could, for its
Yes.
time,
Yes.
especially. Yeah.
He's incredible.
Mhm,
Also, I don't
mhm.
know about how is if it's on IMDb, but on the Letterboxd page, at least for Friday the 13th, Tom Savini is credited on the cast, not just the crew. He's credited as knife killer and then in parentheses uncredited. So
Okay, so was he?
I guess he did some knife killing.
I've got it. The first kill there. Because I was talking
Mm,
about Easter eggs. Mama Voorhees' coat is an Easter egg throughout this movie. That
yeah.
plaid,
Oh
that
yeah,
plaid
yeah.
cross stitch pattern thing. You see it
Yeah.
about 5 times in this movie.
Mm,
That's in the first one. You see the back of it real quickly, real quick
yeah.
cut as she's slitting
Oh.
through. Yeah, yeah, that's the first. Yeah, I noticed
Oh,
it this
that's
time in my second
good.
watch
I
story, and
like that.
I saw them constantly. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. It came
like
to me.
that.
Um, and so that was Tom Savini. That's the knife killer,
Mm,
because that's the one real knife. That's the knife scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's very cool. I like that. That's a good tidbit. Um, Now they're at the camp, everyone all meets, blah, blah, blah. I jumped to the black snake in Alice's cabin.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, you've frozen a little. You can still see me and hear me though. Yeah, cool, you're back. Yeah, the black snake
Yeah.
in the cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've all set up a
Mm.
camp. Everyone meets each other. Alice, who is working with
Yeah.
Steve. They're trying to keep the camp open, and all the townsfolk, including Enos, because he was like, quit, quit, you can't go up there, quit. Because when he was telling the history of it, it's all bad. Yeah, many bad incidents have happened at Camp Crystal Lake, if you didn't know. And so I
Mm.
jumped forward to the black snake because this was just
Yeah.
like crazy the
Yeah.
way they were reacting
Yeah.
to the snake, Dorian. As an Australian, you do not, that when it's a black
Oh,
snake.
yeah.
First of all, you don't dive right under the bed and lift up,
Yeah.
You look right under the bed and stick your dumb head under there, yeah, and then jump, and then Kevin Bacon jumping up on top of the
Yeah.
bed to, get it out of
Entirely unnecessary.
there.
Like,
Entirely unnecessary. Yeah.
they had plenty of other cabins. Like, this is a summer camp. They would have had somewhere
Mm.
else that they could sleep in.
Oh,
See if
the
the snake is
humane
still there the
thing
next
is
day.
you just grab a book and go sit outside and just
Yeah.
watch the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. But and
Do
also,
do what
yeah,
I've done.
bad in so many
I've had
ways.
snakes in my house multiple times. And
Yeah.
yeah, we've literally just like sort of blocked it off, had a box near it, and then just waited until it went into the box and then
Were they dangerous snakes?
drove it off somewhere nearby. No, just green tree snakes. But
Okay.
still,
Okay.
we don't want it in the house.
Yeah. No,
Because,
no, of course not.
if it can't get out, it's going to die.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And yeah, and then just drive it off to some, nearby, bushland, because there's some like bushland near us. Drive it off to there, so it's not too far from where we found it, and then just
No, I like that.
put the box there and just again wait until it makes its way out, and then see ya. So we have no interaction with it. We're not stressing it out. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and you don't stress out. For those that don't know, children overseas and such.
yeah,
Especially it's there are other more dangerous snakes, but a black snake you just keep an eye out for.
yeah,
And my first interaction with a snake, just sidebar there, Dorian, just quickly. When I first moved here, I was living in a suburb up north, just out of town. Blah blah blah. Can't remember the name. And I was walking to the train station middle of the day, and I hear a whole bunch of magpies squawking.
yeah,
And I turn to my right, and in someone's
yeah.
driveway, there's a red-bellied black adder. It's a bad one. Reared up, looking at this magpie's face. It's just like, meh, meh, meh. And then
That's so fucking Australian. That's so
then
Australian. Oh my
then
God,
the
I love
snake
it.
turns its head and looks at me, and then
Yeah.
goes down onto the grass, and then starts coming and I'm just walking, and I start walking,
Yeah.
walking quickly
Yeah.
away. And
Yeah.
then straight away on my phone, which wasn't even a
Mm.
smartphone at that point
Yeah.
in time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I texted, I just saw a goddamn snake. I just saw a snake in someone's backyard. And
Yeah.
the response is, yeah, welcome to Australia, you fucking Kiwi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this
Yeah,
whole
because
snake thing
the
was
thing
just a whole
is
thing
that,
for me.
because like venomous, like I'm gonna go on a tangent about snakes.
Sure.
Like venomous snakes, the venom is how they're able to get their food. And it isn't as though they have an unlimited supply of that. So unless you give it a reason to feel the need to bite you, it's not going to want to do that. So don't give it a reason to.
Yeah. They're not
Don't make it feel
out hunting
threatened.
humans.
Give
They're
it a
not
wide
hunting
berth.
humans. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Crazy scene.
yeah. But then, in this movie, they're just like, oh, there's a snake, so I guess we got to kill it because it's a snake. That means there's a
and the most
snake, therefore it
goofiest,
has to be
dumb,
killed. Like, get fucked.
loudest American way
Yeah.
possible. Speaking of goofy Americans, the cop who comes along to see what
Oh my
all the
God.
commotion is.
No, but like
Crazy Ralph's
also
got
the
out. Crazy Ralph's got out. That's right.
Yeah. Crazy Ralph has escaped once again, and I gotta round him back up. But like the fact that they're all just goofing off, and one of them, he's there with his like Native American headdress on and just being a fucking idiot
Who
while
is
the
that?
cop is just standing there
That's
watching him.
Bill. Yeah, it's Bill.
Yeah,
Bing
yeah.
Crosby's son.
Oh God, so awkward that moment. I'm like,
But the cop's a fucking
ugh.
dork. He is so goofy.
Yeah, yeah.
So what have you been smoking, son?
Yeah, yeah.
You're traveling on
He's like,
cloud
see,
nine.
I don't know all the lingo you kids are on about these days.
Columbia Gold. And he's calling the guy Cochise. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's the bro, the Eshe
yeah,
of
yeah.
his time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We played really well. Played really well, though.
Mm,
Intentionally very funny, I think. Yeah.
yeah.
Because there is comedy in this
And
movie.
he's another
There
he's
is
another
intentional
another
comedy.
example. Yeah. Another example of someone just really comically riding away on their bike. But this time for him, it's a motorbike.
He
He
turns
just
down
rides
the
off on
hill.
it.
No, he goes down
Yeah.
the hill, then comes back up. Dude, you're on top of the hill. Just turn the fucking bike around.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, let's give the movie a little bit more credit than it probably is, in that we've proven the incompetence of the police in this area this
Yeah.
early on in the film.
Yeah,
That's how you
absolutely.
know that there's no
Okay.
point in calling the police. Like, that's giving them more credit. That was probably
Absolutely.
entirely unintentional. But
And actually, that's a part of discourse in horror, actually. When you look
yeah,
at, say, you look at
massively, yeah.
serial killer content, yeah, or you look at what the Asians do, the Koreans especially, always make their figures of authority, particularly cops, just they're goofy, they're
Yeah.
fucking Laurel and Hardy routine,
Yeah.
slapstick routines almost, yeah. It's because of the disapproval, the hatred, the frustration, etc., of
Yeah.
cops. And this is their chance to make him look, dumb, as
Yeah.
this guy does, because they're
Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah.
Everyone at the camp is smirking.
Yeah. They aren't taking him seriously at all.
No, not whatsoever. Now, speaking, the goofiness does keep going. The comedy does keep going,
Yes.
because Crazy Ralph does show up in the goddamn
Yes.
pantry.
He's just in the pantry.
You see
Like, Alice
beans
goes to
behind
open
him.
up and he just comes out and he's just like grinning at her, just like, hey, I'm
It's so
here.
good. It's so good. And he's grinning. So happy.
How?
So happy.
Yeah.
You're all doomed.
When did he get in? When did he get in? He's so happy to announce their doom.
So good. So good. Yeah. And so I was enjoying it. Yeah, I was enjoying myself at this point, at this point of the movie. And right, yeah, Crazy Ralph rides away on his bike once more. Yeah. First act intentionally hilarious. Yeah. I did put unintentionally at the start, but I actually think there was some intent that I will cross that out and put intentional, I think. Excuse me. Do you think this movie, here's a question, and this sprung to my mind when the storm's there, where she's sitting with, it's Kevin Bacon, he's the boyfriend.
Yeah.
And she has the storms come in, it's big, yeah? There's fire in the sky. They have nice touches of like torchlight, flashlight to create the fire effect. It's cool. And Maggie describes her dream of a rain of blood, raining blood. Yeah. Do you think there's attempted symbolism in this movie? There's a lot of use. There's a lot of use of red, for blood, to emphasize blood.
Yeah.
There's some aerial shots. How did they get the aerial shots? Because of the archery range.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, because if they had like no budget.
Yeah.
Like,
just came to me.
Nowadays you can really easily get those kinds of shots with a drone. Yeah. And they aren't very expensive.
No.
But back then you wouldn't have been able to do that.
Fucking students use drones.
I don't know.
Yeah. But they were set up kind of ritualistically. I mean, I don't know if it's legal medicines, or that was part of it, because there was the black snake as well, and the full moon as well. Yeah, because Enos does go into Camp Crystal. All the monsters and the pedophiles, etc., come out. Goes into quite graphic detail about what can happen at Camp Crystal. Yeah, because they try and really do darken up the mythos of this place.
Yeah.
It's kind of coming to me now, actually, and it's kind of making it a little bit better in my eyes. It is making it a little bit better in my eyes. Yeah. For now, we shall see at the end. Yeah, I liked that moment. I did like that moment. The next scene, and this is where it starts to meander. Maybe this is Act Two. Is the sex scene with Maggie and Kevin Bacon.
Oh
And
yeah.
I only bring it up because it's unnecessarily wrong. And my flatmate did point out, yeah, it's basically like a 1970s porn. It's almost a 1970s, definitely soft porn at this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think? What did you think?
I mean, yeah. Basically that.
Yeah, it was just like we're still going.
Like, let's just get to the Kevin Bacon kill, which is iconic.
And
like, let's just fast forward to that. Thanks.
another reason why I only bring this up is just it's also the editing. Yeah, this is a prime example why we need some tighter editing here. We get the point. We don't need to go this long. And still have suspense. And this is why this movie doesn't have suspense. It fails in having suspense. Moments like this. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, we'll get to Kevin Bacon's death because it is good. It is good in context of all this. I just wanted to mention that Ned, if you remember Ned from the start of the movie, he's in the he's in the truck with Maggie and Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
He's driving, Ned doesn't last long. And Ned is on the top bunk of the sex scene. Because at the end of it, Kevin Bacon stands up and there's, remember? No, it pans up. They don't even see.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon, they both walk in. So I hate to pick holes. There's a bunk bed with a dead guy on top. No one notices.
They just thought he was passed out because he drank too much. I don't know. He's dead drunk.
I don't mean to pick holes.
Yeah.
But that one was just a little bit. Okay. That all aside, because I'm leaving the best bit to the part, and you were describing it wonderfully at work. Evil Corp shout out.
Oh yeah,
because you know about this. Please take it away, Dorian. The Kevin Bacon.
kill. So basically, the Kevin Bacon kill. He's lying on his back in bed, and then he ends up getting. He basically from underneath. There's like a hand that holds his head in place, and then you see like a spear come through his throat, and some blood comes out, and then it starts coming out in huge like spurts. And so the way that was done, you basically had standard kind of thing for these kinds of things where you basically have the actor is kind of sticking their head out through a hole, and then the rest of it is like fake.
Yep.
But that actual contraption that they had that was pumping the blood through is just a standard tube that then on the other end, because not enough of a budget to do anything proper with pumping stuff through. So literally just a person on the other end just blowing into this tube, blowing that blood out through it.
Love it. It's punk rock filmmaking right there.
Yeah. And so it didn't quite, the way in which the blood was coming out wasn't quite right. It was like getting a little bit stuck. It wasn't working quite right. It's like, oh shit, just keep blowing, blow harder in it, blow harder. Yeah, blow harder through the tube. Start doing that. And then suddenly it just, whatever blockage was in there passed through. And then suddenly it just starts spurting out, entirely unintentional, but they were like, nah, that looks sick. We're going to keep that. So it spurting like that was not the intended end goal of it. They didn't intend on it looking like that, but they thought it looked cool, and it does look cool, so they kept it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got bad jokes in my mind, which I'm not gonna.
Don't worry, my brain was going there as I was talking.
And again, this movie. This is making a movie in the eye of the storm, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Because this was all it's a matter of chaos and circumstance and ingenuity. Yeah, all coming together to create an iconic moment. Iconic moment. But I also must mention this is an Easter egg moment. Yeah, because the hand that comes up from under the bed to hold the forehead of Kevin Bacon, you actually see the whole arm of the coat there, yeah? And on
Yeah.
the hand, you actually see the cuff coming down. That's the
Mm.
second coat Easter egg for, yeah, Mama
Ah.
Voorhees there. That's the first one I saw on the first viewing. I was like, hang on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Jason wouldn't wear that, if you know what I mean.
I don't know. Maybe he's a fashionista.
Hey, no judgment, of course. Yeah, the sexy baby of death, Tom Savini, yes, of course, he was on fire there. Ned is dead in top bunk. Ned is dead. Killer coat is seen. Mary and toilet switch. Yeah, that was cool. Mary and toilet, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
bathroom, sorry, ablution block.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Um,
I like the way that they use the editing to get around having to do anything super elaborate with that kill,
mhm,
because you
mhm.
basically just had like the just edited together in a way that made you go, okay, yes, this axe is now going into her head. So, here's the axe swinging, and then the next shot is
Mhm,
of her
mhm.
with it in her head. You don't actually
Yeah,
see the impact.
yeah.
So then that means that they don't have to worry about the fuss of figuring out how to make that
Okay,
effect. It's a lot
okay,
easier to
okay.
just have like, okay, yeah, here's this fake axe that's been
Mm.
glued to the head and some blood around it. Now act.
Yeah,
It's a lot
okay.
easier to do that
Yeah, that is true.
because
That is
it
true.
gets the point across. We know what happened to her.
I did pick that up with the edit. It's got to be that
Mm.
you got to hold
Yeah,
that long because
yeah,
because the next shot is literally boom. Yeah,
yeah,
and that for its time was particularly brutal because it is axe well into
yeah,
face. Yeah, very much
yeah.
axe smash face
It's
with that one.
embedded in there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I did like the build up on the second viewing, because I
Mm,
noticed in the shower, and
mm,
down the way, from
yeah.
Marcy's point of view, actually, well, no, she didn't see it. We saw it from where she was, her positioning. It's a better way to put it. But we see the hand in the shower touches the shower curtain and just moves it
Mm,
slightly. It's very faint,
yeah.
the hand. You don't see it much, but yeah, I didn't see that the first time. Okay, well, that's a bit more of a substantial build up to the kill. So yeah, no, that was a good kill. That was a good kill. Not my favorite kill. Do you have a
Mm.
favorite kill on this? If you wanted to mention
Um,
now, we could save it.
I would say either Kevin Bacon or Betsy Palmer.
Okay. Betsy Palmer, yeah, yeah. That's
Mm,
let's say that's the given.
yeah.
Because I had Brenda.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Not the second part half of it, not the
Mm,
second part.
yeah,
You know what I mean? The first
yeah.
part I thought was very
Mm,
simple but very effective. Yeah.
mm.
Um, but we'll get to those. We'll get to those. Yeah. Excuse me. That's in this moment, this is where I decided in my mind that this movie is Psycho in reverse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In a very reductive way. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, with the mum and the dada, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, basically we'll get to that. Okay, so the first clue that there is a killer, that the campsite itself, because who's dead by this stage? You had Alice at the start. Ned's dead. Is that all? No, Marcy just died, did she? No,
Mm,
she doesn't at this
yeah.
point. Yeah, no, she does because she's had the sex scene. Yes, and when you have
Mm,
sex, you die.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Like this movie is the ultimate like celibacy
Mhm.
campaign.
Not intentionally.
Like
That was not their intention.
they say it perfectly. Yeah, they say
Yeah,
it
yeah.
perfectly in Scream, in that, don't have sex, don't do drugs, don't drink alcohol, don't do any of that stuff, because if you do, then the killer is going to kill you. You're going to die if you do that.
Yeah, yeah, and that wasn't intentional for the creators, for
No.
Scott or anyone else, yeah.
Yeah.
And I forget if it was what's her name, Adrian, Annie, sorry, Alice or
Mm,
Scott on the first part of, there's that documentary which goes over each and every episode, the big one, the
Yeah.
famous one of this. I
Yeah,
watched the
yeah.
first episode of that.
Yeah.
One of the other said that, they were kind of miffed that that's what
Yeah.
that it has that
Yeah.
association to it, but they're like,
Yeah.
what can you do?
Yeah.
Now,
Because I mean,
Alice,
even
go.
Alice's character is there having fun, and she's drinking, she's joining in them playing strip Monopoly, and she's a final girl.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
typically, the final girl doesn't do that because she's a square. She's boring.
Yeah, okay.
She's a
Okay.
pure virginal character. She's
Okay.
the brunette, and her slutty blonde friend is the first one to die. Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is the ultimate like deconstruction of those tropes.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
haven't seen
Yeah.
it,
I
watch
have
it.
to rewatch it. I was really baked when I
Yeah.
watched it.
Yeah.
The first time. I need to go back and watch it.
Yeah. It has Chris Hemsworth in it. The movie was filmed before he got big from Thor,
Okay.
before he got famous from Thor, but it
Sure.
unfortunately had delays with distribution. So it ended up coming out after he was Thor and became famous from that, but it was filmed before Thor came out, before he
Okay.
got famous.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
And also I like the theory that Dana and Marty's archetype that they're assigned to, they're actually the wrong way around. That Marty is the virgin and Dana is the fool, instead of what they're told that they are.
So what is so
I like
Sorry?
that.
And
Yeah.
say
So
that again?
so Cabin in the Woods, you have the main
Oh,
characters
okay,
that
Cabin
are
in the
all
Woods.
assigned.
Sorry,
Yeah.
okay, reference.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just lost for a moment
Yeah.
there. I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
So they're all assigned archetypes based on slasher films. And Dana is the
No,
final
stop,
girl, and
stop.
she's the virgin. And
Okay,
yeah.
no spoilers. No
Yeah,
spoilers.
spoilers, yeah.
Okay, no,
But and
okay.
then yeah, so
No, we'll move.
there's a theory
We'll
that
come back. We'll come back to this.
yeah,
We'll come back to this. Is that cool? Because
yeah,
I want
and
to watch it.
I like
I want
that
to watch it.
theory.
Okay.
Yes, rewatch it.
Okay. Hold on. We were talking about that because we were talking about the clue that Adrian found because
Yes.
the people who had already died. There we go.
Yeah.
Ned's dead.
We're on
And
tangents.
that's right. That's right. I can come back. Alice. And Marcy's just died. Yes.
Mm,
Yeah. So okay.
yes.
So that's where we're up to, and I say that. Give me a sec. First clue. Yeah, we said yeah, that comes back to finding the first clue, and that's at 45 minutes in. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the movie's only an hour and a half.
And the movie's
so
only an hour and a half. This
pretty,
is why I'm making these timestamps. Yeah, that's why I'm making these timestamps. Yeah. So it's not, it's a prototype slasher. You know what I mean? Yeah. For what was to come, certainly for what was to come, because this is hugely influential. This is really what got slashers up and rolling. Yeah, the business of slashers. Yeah, this film. Read is used a lot, blah blah blah. The full moon, we've gone over that. Okay, Steve, we're up to Steve dying. Yeah, this is my favorite kill. The flashlight. Just by the sign, it's just the flashlight. And when you use light like that, it becomes a black wall elsewhere, comes a kind of negative space. You can't see it. It's the perfect way simplest way to hide. It's a little nostalgic because I've done this on tour doing scare actor stuff, and it was one of the most effective scares I ever had, just hiding behind big floodlights in the woods. Usually I jumped out as like a death kind of monster character, but this one there was a big group and I was sitting down and I just picked up a twig and I just snapped it, and the timing was perfect. There wasn't another sound. They all turned and looked.
Oh, awesome!
All ran as one group, and it was like, yes. I've reached, Mount Olympus for what I do. This is the high point. This is the apex. So that's why this was my favorite kill. The ending was a little off, kind of, oh hi, so what are you doing out here? But that's my favorite kill out of all this. But yes, Steve is dead. Suspense. Bill dies by arrows. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, there is. I
yeah.
mean, like there is things like the
I
Monopoly
mean,
scene and
he
such,
was
but
fucking around with the art.
we don't need
Yeah,
to talk about
he's been
that.
fucking
Yeah,
around with
so
the
because
archery range this entire movie. So I
yeah,
like
but
that. That was his
mm,
death.
yeah, okay, yeah, he was doing that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, no, he was doing that, and it did kind of the
Mm,
another one. Yeah, and it also did kind of call back, I guess is a way to put it. When
yeah.
not he pretended to almost kill Brenda with a bow
Yeah.
and arrow at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'll give it to that. Is it Brenda who
Mm.
sees Bill? No, it's Annie, isn't it?
I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at this
I
stage.
don't know.
Okay. And it was kind of Saint Francis of Assisi. I'll give it that as well. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
And so I'll give it that. But more importantly, the best. Who's the best final girl of the '70s, shall we say? Because you've got
Oh,
Sally from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
yeah.
You have Laurie Strode from Halloween. Yeah, and
Mm.
I'll throw her in there because this is more of a kind of '70s
Yeah.
characterization
Yeah.
more than it
Because
is an
it's,
'80s
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah. 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 This one feels, because it is literally on the cusp,
yeah.
it's still really
It's
heavily
yes,
influenced by
yes,
70s
exactly,
stuff.
exactly.
Mm.
And then there is Chicky from Black Mirror. Could you throw her in there?
Black Christmas. Yeah. Yeah.
Black Mirror,
Yeah.
Black Christmas.
I
Yeah.
can't remember a character's name. It's been a hot minute since I
Mhm.
last seen that one. That one's
So,
another like good like mystery
mhm,
because you never actually
mhm.
see the killer and you still in that thing of the killer's still there. Oh, Black Christmas. The ending for Black Christmas is iconic. Oh my God. Ah,
All right.
that movie is amazing.
I'll pretend to be ashamed. This is the gimmick that I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, you need to.
I
You
need
need
to. It's
to.
on my bucket list. It's on my
Yep.
bucket list because that's
Yes, you
also
do.
foundational, like this film in terms of
Yes, it is. It
slashers. Yeah,
really
it's
is.
the
Yep.
it's a grandfather
Yep.
film, grandfather, grandmother, grand thing
Yes.
um, of these films. Yeah.
Mm. Yep.
Um, okay. Yes. So sorry. Back to the question. Who's your favorite?
Oh
Mine's
shit.
Laurie
I don't know.
Strode.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I still
Laurie.
have to give it to Laurie. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because I think she was up against a
yeah,
more. I'd say she was up against a more formidable
yeah. And
opponent.
I feel
Yeah.
that Sally was very much just reacting the entire time. She wasn't particularly an active character. She just did a lot of screaming and running away.
Mm.
Whereas Laurie was actively doing
Yeah.
her best to make sure that the children were safe. And then she was also defending herself against Michael Myers.
Yes. And that's the big thing with Laurie Strode that she fought
Mm,
back like a
yeah.
motherfucker. Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why, yeah, you got to give it to her. You got to give it
Mm,
to her. So there you are.
yeah.
It's official. It's evil popcorn official.
Yeah.
Laurie Strode is the best. Um, yeah, I forgot while we were talking, I realized that I've forgotten one big thing that we
Oh,
have to mention is the actual reveal itself has happened by this stage. Yeah, this is what comes
yeah.
next. Yeah, because then it is Alice just freaking out, trying to get away from
Mm,
Jason. Yeah, well,
yeah.
Mama Voorhees. I know
Jason in air quotes.
no, no, the bodies come first. No, sorry, I am jumping ahead. Because
Yeah.
she sees, yeah,
She's doing her final
yeah.
girl circuit, as they
She
call
is
it on
the
Dead
final
Meat.
kill circuit. Yeah, very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, that's what they call it on Dead Meat, the
Okay,
final
good.
girl
I
circuit.
was just concerned I jumped forward there. So
Yeah.
that's right. Um, okay.
Yeah, she's
Alice,
just running through the environment and discovering all of the dead bodies one by one.
yeah, yeah. Du-du-du-du. So I've got here next Alice barricades door, and I'm really kind of freaked out fashion, trying to get away from the still unknown assailant at this point, but
Yeah.
known to her that there is an assailant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because technically she's the only one who knows that there is an assailant at any one time, if I'm not mistaken. Because
Yeah.
everyone's dead by the time Mama Voorhees
Yeah.
shows up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, the nice use of, narrative, restricted and
Mm.
unrestricted narrative there. And then Brenda gets thrown through a window.
Yeah. Yes.
I enjoyed that part. It was just okie dokie.
It's like, where's Brenda at? What's happened to her? Oh,
Mhm.
oh, there she is.
Alice freaks the fuck out in a very almost Greek tragedian fashion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just sliding down, doing a silent scream, kind
Yeah.
of really can't believe what she's seeing. Nice bit of acting there. And then Pamela Voorhees arrives. Yeah, now Mama Voorhees arrives. And this is at 1:15 in the movie. Yeah, by 1 hour, 1:35, I think. Yeah. So yeah, you get to find out who it is. Yeah, back in 1980, first time viewing, you find out who it is. I'm not even at this point, yeah, because she comes along very friendly and happy and willing to help
Yeah.
and wanting
Yeah.
to,
Like I'm Mrs. Voorhees. I'm a friend of the Christies, Like she's there just like, "Oh, are you okay? What's going on?" And then like, "Oh my God, seeing, this body of this recently killed young woman, like, oh,
Mhm,
she's so young, so pretty. I can't
mhm.
believe this happened to her."
Yeah, absolutely. And she was a well-known TV celebrity
Mm,
of that time. She was a well-known, she was a beloved face. Yeah. So
mm.
seeing her show up, it's just, there's going to be a happy ending to
Yeah.
this after
Yeah.
all. No.
It's
Absolutely
it's
not.
almost as if like you had like it was Lin Shay coming in. You know how we
Yeah, a
felt
little
when
bit.
Lin
Yeah.
Shay came in Insidious?
Yes.
That
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
feeling.
For
But
them
like
back
it turns
then.
out she's the killer the whole time.
Yeah. 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 Um, now she hated the actor. This is
Mm.
Betsy Palmer. Yes, the great Betsy Palmer. When she first, this is great how she decided to be in this movie. Yeah. Because she needed a new car and she'd been doing some theater on Broadway and such,
She
some
needed the
TV work,
money.
but she needed the money. And
Yeah.
so she was reading
I'm here for it.
she read the script and and word for word, well, this is a
Yeah.
piece of shit.
But I need that money. I need that car.
But I need
So
that money. And she said that, but she said crap on the documentary, but stronger words. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm just assuming.
Oh,
I'm just going with shit. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and but yeah, and she took it, but she was speaking a bit more favorably about it on the
Mm.
documentary and such. She
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
hold
yeah.
any big grudges, but she just needed money for the car,
Yeah.
which was the funny
Yeah, yeah.
admission there. She is great in this movie. Yeah, how she reveals that she is Jason through a little kind of exposition,
Yeah.
I guess, at this
Yeah.
stage. Yeah.
Yeah,
Since
because
Alice is
she
the
she
ones
tells
finding
a
out what's
story
actually
about
happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she tells a story about the little boy that drowned.
Mm. Mm.
And, because
We see the
yeah,
first sign of Jason at this point in her
yeah.
flashback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, in that little Jason Voorhees was a member of this camp back in the day, and he wasn't a very good swimmer, and the camp counselors were too busy fucking, so they
Mhm.
weren't keeping an eye on the kids, and he ended
Mhm.
up drowning. And
Mhm.
Mrs.
Mhm.
Voorhees was the cook, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure,
Okay.
for the I could be wrong. I don't know. But anyway, she was involved. I might be confusing that with so many other slasher that have been inspired by. I don't know. Anyway, um, but then she's like, "Oh, Jason was my son, and today is his birthday. Friday the
Mhm.
13th.
Mhm.
It's his
Mhm. Mhm.
birthday."
And I particularly loved when she put on the Jason voice
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
talks in a very like childlike kind of voice.
And
Because yeah, she's
yeah,
essentially
yeah, and the look in the eyes and the close up to extreme close up,
yeah,
they used to emphasize
yeah,
that was good work, and she, she
mm,
really fell
yeah.
into it very nicely.
Yeah. So
And that
basically, yeah,
actually,
the tragedy of her son dying and the fact that it could have easily been avoided if it weren't for these irresponsible
yes,
camp counselors that were too horny for
yes,
their own good has
um,
just kind of broken her brain a bit, and now
absolutely.
she's
But
going
like,
and killing people.
every good villain, she does have a motivation, and she thinks she is doing
Mm.
good. She's trying to stop
Yeah.
the camp from being open
Yeah.
again. Yeah, and she's
Yeah.
continually done that. Yeah,
To
because
stop it from happening to anyone
they've tried to
else.
open this camp many
Yeah.
times in the past. So she's been doing this for a
Yeah. And it's
while.
never
Yeah,
worked. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that actually reminds me, we'd be remiss to not mention Betsy's death, because you're talking about the
Mm.
use of voice there. She's throwing the small
Yeah.
child's voice with the help me, whilst Betsy's in
Yeah.
bed after the strip poker.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's Mama Voorhees doing that again. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. If you haven't seen it, do check it out just for this
Yeah.
reason. Yeah. Even
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
horror's not your thing,
Absolutely.
I think this scene is really good. This reveal is
Mm.
great.
Yeah.
And then they fight, basically. Yeah, there's fighting
Yes.
and chasing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you reckon of all
She
this?
she comes at Alice. Yeah, she comes at Alice at one point with a knife, and the way that she's holding it and the way that it's shot feels very much like Norman Bates dressed as mother, holding the knife
Mhm.
above his
Again,
head,
yes,
just like
again,
coming
yes, yeah,
forward. It
yeah,
had that vibe. There
yeah.
was there was a bit where she's like smashing in through the door. So you got like a panel of the door broken open. You see her
They take
face
it,
through it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just like, here's
They
Johnny.
take it to the beach, and Betsy is
Yeah,
just smashing
yeah,
Adrian's head. And I use their
yeah.
names because
Going
these
all
are not
over her.
stunts
Yeah,
people. Yeah, they did all of this
yeah,
themselves. Yeah, because they were not affording
yeah. Because
one
hiring a stunt
singular
person
stunt
would
person.
be
They couldn't
paying
afford
one more
one.
person.
They couldn't afford
Yeah,
one. So
yeah.
they were doing this for real. They were going for it, and they got bruised and battered.
Mm,
This was what Betsy was saying on the doc. So I respect that. I always respect that,
mm,
for the art, certainly for independent indie
yeah,
art. And then there is, yeah, we're coming right up to the end. Well, the climax. There's the machete. The machete is thrown away,
mm,
is whacked away. Yes, earlier
yes,
on. Yes, that's worth remembering, because Alice picks up the machete, which next to the hockey mask, that's
yep,
the biggest, symbol
yes,
of this
yep,
franchise. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I mean, that's what kills him in the final chapter.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Bringing it around full
That moment
circle,
was cool
intentionally
because
or
he like
not, intentionally or
slides
not.
down his head. Yeah, his head is in it and then like slides down it.
Classic. Classic.
Cool.
Um, so this was, music soaring at this time. Frank, what's his
Mm,
name? Manfredi? How do you say it?
yeah,
Yeah,
Manfredini. Yeah.
Manfredini. He's going off at this point, and yeah, and the head comes off, and and the head comes off very cleanly. You see the neck, the beheaded
Mm,
neck there. It's kind of funny though, because she puts her hands up like if she had a head, she'd be
yeah.
saying curses,
Yeah. Yeah.
curse you.
Those are yeah. Those are apparently Tom Savini's hands.
Oh, that's
Those
right.
hands that
Yeah,
come up, they're
R2.
apparently Tom
Yeah,
Savini's.
R2.
Yeah.
Nice. And there's a slow motion again, like at the
Mm,
start for this, yeah.
yeah.
But that is not the end. That is not the end. No.
No.
Um,
Alice goes out on the little canoe
like a
and
Viking
just
burial at sea.
drifts on the lake, I guess just processing everything that she's been through. And then it's daybreak and it's nice and peaceful and her just kind of lying there on the boat staring into the
Mhm.
water.
Beautiful like
And
anime
then suddenly
end of an anime movie
it's
style
yeah,
score going.
beautiful music playing. It's so peaceful. And then suddenly from behind her jumps out of the water, reaching out to grab her is a small child that you assume is Jason. And then it cuts to her in the hospital.
Yes,
I
and
mean, like, that's
that's
a fantastic jump scare. Let's be real. That's a fantastic jump scare.
Yeah. No, the very first viewing of this, that one, even with background, noise,
Yeah.
that one did get me. First viewing,
Yeah.
that one did get me. Probably the only thing that actually scared me in
Mm.
this movie, or
Yeah.
even startled. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But this movie isn't about jump scares until the end. Yeah.
No.
So
No.
there's that. There is that.
Mm.
But that is not the end. No, we wake up in
No.
hospital. I would have been worried if I had seen it back then as, oh, it was all a dream bullshit.
Yeah,
Is
yeah. Yeah, it definitely
because
feels
that's, I
that.
hate
Yeah.
that. I hate that.
Yeah.
But no, because she asked the nice
Yeah,
cops and
yeah. Because
nurses
they're like,
around her.
everyone else is dead. We thought you were dead as well.
Yeah, that's right. Because
You're the only person that
they
survived.
found
You're the only
they
person
found
that we found
yeah.
alive.
Yeah. But she thinks that they would have seen Jason as well, because the cops pull up
Yeah,
in the
what about
next
the little
morning. Yeah.
boy? Yeah.
They pull up the next morning, and she's about to wave to them when Jason jumps up. But they go, no, there was no little boy. And then her, big blue eyes,
Oh
innocent
God.
face, looks at the
So he's
screen.
still out
He's still out
there.
there. Yeah. And then
Yeah. Which
and then the
feels very
anime
like,
music
how,
comes back, the
yeah.
Enya style,
Yeah.
the
You know
mood
how,
music.
yeah. Yeah. Like, how Halloween ends in a way that very much gives that feeling of Michael
Huh.
Myers is still out there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't think of
We
that, but
don't know where he is, but he's still
totally.
out there.
Yeah.
And it does it in such a fantastic way, the way that they accomplish that feeling. But I feel that them in Friday the 13th having that is trying to give that feeling of he's still out there. But the thing is that even though, like, yes, that is the direction that the movie's going, and it doesn't really make sense if you think about it for 2 seconds. But like, I still don't understand why it's like, oh, Jason, but he's still out there. It's like, yeah, within the context of just this film, he's just a little child hanging out in a lake. Like, what's the threat there? Like, why is that supposed to feel ominous in a way that it feels threatening in the way that it did at the end of Halloween? Like, yes, he's still out there, but okay,
Yeah.
he's this dead child that drowned because he couldn't swim.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of a rebuke,
Yeah.
a rebuttal, because I do agree with you. I will say, on its behalf and to its benefit, that how there's the ripple scene in the water. You see two ripples, perfectly calm, no other rain, beautiful day, and it's gone to orange and pink and yellow lighting. It's fucking heavenly. This this scene that they create, and you just see the two ripples. I liked the foreboding's not quite the word. I thought that was a very clever way to leave it open-ended. Yeah. If the need arises, and that's just speculation whether they did that, intentionally or not.
Yeah.
But the boy. I mean, there is the mythos, not the mythos, the fact that Mother has been doing this for so long. But is the boy? But is he going to do it in 1980 when you're not aware of the other sequels? When you're not aware of the other sequels?
Yeah, exactly. When it's just that movie on its own, it's like, okay, but like, as far as we know, this isn't something that happened like 6 months ago.
Yeah, no.
So like he died. He's
Mhm.
dead.
Yeah.
So this is some like zombie baby.
Case has been long
zombie
closed.
child
The case has been
who's
long
been
closed. It's frozen.
Yeah. So like, which is why like chapter 2, no, part 2, sorry, like being now here's Jason and he's like a full-grown man. It's like, well, what was the deal with the little kid? Like, I guess that was a dream then that Alice had, because he wouldn't like, okay, if he's there and he's not,
it's a Kendrick Lamar level blow.
If you start thinking about it, it makes no sense, because it's like, okay, if Jason is alive and he's a full-grown adult, then that means that he didn't drown back in the day. What happened? How did that come to be? But then if he is some kind of like dead thing that's come back, then like, how come they made this huge fuss about finally being able to kill him, and then him coming back as a zombie when his grave got like hit by lightning? Like, You
Yeah,
start
Michael
thinking about it too
Myers.
much, it stops
Absolutely.
making any sense.
Yeah, Michael Myers, he went to hospital and grew up, then got out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chucky,
Yeah.
Charles Lee
We'll
Ray,
ignore how he
possessed
managed
a
to know
voodoo,
how to
possessed
drive
a
a car
doll
in that time.
through voodoo.
Yeah.
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 Leatherface. Well, have
That's
you
more
seen his family?
believable. I'll
Leatherface,
believe
have you
that.
seen his family?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah.
no. The main question for Halloween is at what point did he learn how to drive a car? That's the real question.
Sure.
I want to
Sure.
know that. Give me that little tidbit. Rob Zombie, in your Halloween movies, why didn't you include that
What?
in all your backstory
An
and going too much into
instructor?
detail about stuff we don't care about?
Exactly.
Where's the bit where
Oh,
Michael Myers got driving lessons? Where's
burns,
that?
children, burns. You're not wrong though. You're not
I
wrong.
loved Rob Zombie. I love Rob Zombie, but also, bro, I have questions.
That's something we should discuss in the future because that's a big topic. That's yeah. To this day, loaded. To this day, fucking loaded. I've been abused. And it comes out of nowhere. They're fanatical. The hatred is fanatical. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. We'll discuss that another day.
Yeah.
I will give the ending the merit based on the fact that it did suggest that this was a type of ghost story because it was hinted at something that I was listening or reading that Jason, his death and the spirit of Crystal Lake, the vibe of it, if you will, is what was fueling, possessing, driving Mama Voorhees. Yeah. And hence going back to the lake like that, that was the kind of like a symbol of the embodiment of the evilness of this place. It's a spirit that can possess, someone else could become along to be possessed of this place and the evil could continue, which slashers kind of do work on.
Absolutely.
That was the best justification I heard for it. And if you want to get theoretical about it, which we're doing, because we're comparing and contrasting and all that stuff. Which you can't help do when you're talking slashers because it's genre.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to discuss the genre. This is a genre film, and they were using genre tropes, just throwing them all in. But not, and at the same time making it really sparse and kind of slow and boring. It's there, you know what I mean? That's why this film's hard to pin down exactly how good it actually is. If that's fair. And to that note, that is the end. And then there's credits. What do you reckon? Like, let's rate it whilst we're just fresh at the end, I think.
I gave it 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
That's what I rate it.
Like, can you summarize why?
It's very middle of the road kind of thing, like you can't watch it and ignore the impact that it's had and also the fact that, the circumstances in which it was made. But also like, I feel that people, when they look back on it, and it's been a while since I've last seen it, they remember it being something that it isn't.
Yeah, sure. Nostalgia.
Still, like,
nostalgia.
It's nostalgia.
Lens.
And this is the first installment of a franchise that didn't properly find its footing until a little bit later. This is just the first instance of it, and it was
when
still
you compare it
trying
to the
figure
other
out
three
exactly what it
first
was.
films, especially,
It isn't anything like what it ends up becoming because it's still trying to. I mean, at that point, that genre was still in its infancy anyway, and so it was still trying to figure out what it wanted to be, and so it's a little bit meandering and a little bit in parts, but so it isn't atrocious, but it also, if you wanted a Friday the 13th that is a more solid film, with the exception of the ending, I would say you would be better off going with a different movie within the franchise. I would say like even part 2 even is better than this one, in my opinion.
Okay.
But he doesn't get the hockey mask until part 3.
Okay. Okay.
If you
Yes.
want
Yes.
to see Jason with the hockey mask, part
Uh,
3 and onwards.
it's a Hessian sack, if memory serves
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. With one
Yes.
eye hole in it.
Yeah, which is an interesting choice, which they brought back
Yeah.
later on for the remake.
Um, I think he does have it at one point in the remake. I'm not entirely sure.
I think about the
The
very
remake,
start.
like, yeah, after having rewatched this one, the original,
Mm,
um,
please.
and before that, the one that I most recently watched within the franchise was the remake. Given the kinds of movies that were coming out in the 2000s, in terms of those remakes, and that like it definitely felt like a 2000s remake in terms
Yeah,
of
sure,
just
sure,
the
sure,
the
sure.
feel of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it felt like if you're comparing the 1980 Friday the 13th versus the 2009 Friday the 13th, the 2009 one feels a lot more like like a slasher. Friday the 13th slasher film, and it's one that came out in the 2000s because some of the movies in the 2000s are fucking brutal. That's when we had the torture porn boom. So you had a lot of some pretty gnarly films, and just in terms of how
Absolutely.
mean these movies felt
Absolutely.
and how
The
gross
Texas
they
Chainsaw
felt as well
Massacre,
visually.
The
Mm,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes at that time had a
mm,
high level of
yeah.
aggression to their
Yeah,
to its
yeah. And then
violence. Yeah,
yeah, like yeah, so you had the torture porn films, and then yeah, the you had the remake of Hills Have Eyes, I Spit on Your
um,
Grave, Last House on the
Wolf
Left, and
Creek,
they're all
Wolf
really
Creek.
solid. Yeah, Wolf
Yeah,
Creek.
for
Yeah,
down
those
here.
those
Yeah.
remakes are really solid remakes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Hills Have
Mm,
Eyes. Yeah, I
yeah.
really like the remakes to those. Yeah, especially the
Mm,
first one. Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's intense. The RV
Yeah.
scene. Yeah, a lot of people can't watch that one. I
Mm.
get it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's full on that
Yeah.
scene. Um, yeah, okay, so 2.5. That's fair. That is
Mm,
absolutely fair. Mine is 2.5 as well. It was
yeah.
initially a 2 on first watch
Yeah.
because the editing and the pacing overall to it,
Mm,
the clunkiness of it.
yeah.
But I see where the clunkiness, where it came from. Not excusing everything. I'm not excusing everything.
Yeah.
This film did really well for what it had going for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I bet I'm sure they even surprised themselves, which I think they did actually, if memory serves,
Mm,
with their
yeah.
responses. You know, they're blown away by, of course, they're blown away by how well it did. This
Yeah.
movie's, how much is, what was it? It was 500,000. Then it got, was it 40 or maybe it was 90, like million
Yeah.
dollars? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a
And they were pretty
huge
much
commercial
immediately greenlit
success.
for a new movie, a next
Yeah,
movie.
huge
And
commercial
part 2 came
success.
out the next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were people lining up constantly all week
Mm,
around the corner, around the, down the
yeah.
block to see this movie. The only thing that slowed it down was it was in the same week little movie, little franchise a little franchise came out, and that movie was called The Empire Strikes Back. It came
Yeah.
out at the same time.
Yeah.
And but that didn't stop it, of course, because
Mm,
it's $1 billion fucking industry
yeah.
nowadays.
Mm,
Nowadays,
yeah.
this shit to this day, 44 years later. Yeah. So I'm gonna so I'm gonna keep it at 2.5, and
Mm,
that's flop corn. I don't know how you would describe it, but it's flop corn
yeah.
with and there's a fair bit of flop corn. If I could go
Mm,
2.3, I would. Yeah, just to be,
yeah.
So so it's the bowl, point being the bowl is mostly flop corn, but throughout at the top,
Mm,
da da da,
mm,
and circling down at the bottom, yeah, there was some delicious
yeah.
kills, delicious kills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not, so the point being, it's not awful, this film. It wasn't bad, didn't have a
Yeah.
bad time watching it. I dealt with watching it twice in 2 days. I'm going to give it a break
Yeah.
until I see it again. But yeah, 2.5, 2.5. So we agreed
Mm,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, what are we doing next in terms of the iceberg? We've got Scream and Nightmare, both for Craven.
Yeah,
And what,
Scream. Scream.
leave Nightmare to last?
Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Scream will be it'll be an
Yes.
interesting discussion because Scream,
Yes. I'm so excited.
because to speak generically of, again, no need to disclose ever. This is of your age group. Yeah, The Scream is of your
Yeah.
generation. What, that movie?
I'm a
And
millennial.
millennial, and I'm
So
very,
yeah,
very late X, you know, the whole Breakfast Club
yeah,
generation thing. That's me. So
yeah,
mine's Nightmare. Yeah. Because that was the
yeah.
first one I
Yeah. They're
watched.
both
Yeah.
Craven, both
Both
Craven.
Craven. And what remind me again, and I'm terrible, we're going into the second tier with another Craven.
Yeah, I do believe it is Last House on the Left.
There we go. Oof. Oof. Going right down into the dirt and the mud.
Yeah.
That's the first one of tier two.
I'm looking forward to that one. It's been a
Okay.
hot minute since I've seen that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're not fucking around once we get there, it seems. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this
Oh.
is your last warning. It's because we're doing Scream and Nightmares. We're fine for now. Trust
Yeah.
me. Fine for
Yeah.
especially Scream. Scream's just fun.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Scream is
Yeah.
fun. It's so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It's one of my comfort movies.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Okay. You know, I get it. I do like the screams. I do like the screams, definitely.
Yeah.
Part three, I really enjoyed. How do you feel about part
Oh
three?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like the goofiness, the campiness?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Once you kind of get into it, because it can be very jarring at first, like, oh God, like, because comparatively it's not like the previous films. But once you get into it and you allow yourself to actually enjoy it, then it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Carrie
And
Fisher's in that one as well.
yeah. Absolutely. That's excellent.
Yeah.
And the violence is pretty damn good
Mm.
at times. But that's
Yeah.
all we'll say for now. That's a teaser. That's a
Yes.
teaser for next time. So we're going to do Scream. So yeah, go and find it. Just
Yes.
Google it. It'll come up everywhere. Yeah, it's Scream. And yeah, so I think that's it. Yeah, we've done Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, good. So I'm just going to say good night. Yes. Thank you, Dorian. Good night. Thank you for joining
Hey, no worries.
me again. Yes, I look forward to going over Scream with you. Yes.
Yes.
And yeah, good night, children. Bye bye.
Whoa.